Okay, we're going to start today on the top of Kuf Mem 140. Hashem that they're able to learn Torah every day. So we're learning Shav Beis Hamikdash immediately. Learning Lulei Nishma, Tzavah the Basra Daf and Salas Abdel Yitzin. And for Shleim of Avram David Ben Sarah. Gedali gets well, yes, Ben Figit Tzipera. You have to check on Moshe. He said he was in the hospital. Yeah. The professor's probably busy with his teaching. Okay. What we're talking about was like this: the inheritance. Someone passes away, so it depends if there's a lot of money. So then the sons will inherit regularly, and the daughters will just eat from the son's inheritance. Basically, it goes to the sons. And the sons will provide for the daughters. If there's not a lot of money, then the sons don't get their inheritance. It's sort of like the Beis Din is going to provide, take the estate, allocate it for the daughter's sustenance. The sons are not in control of that. If there's a big inheritance, the sons control it. The sons control the inheritance, and they give their sisters what they're supposed to get. But if there's not a lot, then the sons aren't controlling it. Well, the Gemara now says Pshita. Following case is obvious, which means that they're about to say a question immediately after that. If it's merubim v'nismaitu, if it started off that there were a lot of funds, the estate was a large estate, but then something changed. Either the cost of living went up, or the property got worth less, and so that's considered nismaitu. And there's not enough income there for the daughters to for the sons to have an inheritance and the daughters to be able to be sustained until until they reach maturity. So what's the halacha? It says kvar zacha bem yarshim. It's too late. That happens. There's a change in the market. Things get worth less. But so what? The inheritance was already distributed, and so that's what they got. Sons got it, and they'll provide whatever they can for the sisters. If they run out, so the sisters will have to beg like everyone. That's what they do if there's no money. Mu'atin b'nisraba. What happens if it's the other way? Let's say they didn't have enough funds, so they didn't give the money to the sons. They kept it for the Beis Din was in charge of it, and it was going to the daughters. So what's the din? B'shus yarshim kaimi. Do we say that even though the Beis Din is in charge of this money and it's going to the daughters, but it's really in the possession of the inheritors? So who just made this extra income because it was just increased in price, whatever the estate was, just went up? Well, it belongs to the sons. Or maybe Saluki Masalki Yarshim Mehacha, or maybe the Yarshim are not considered that they're here. The inheritors aren't considered here because there wasn't enough. The estate wasn't large enough, so it went just to the daughters for their sustenance. And so then, and now that it got worth more, it doesn't go to the inheritors; it goes to the daughters for more sustenance. Okay, that's a question. Well, Tashma. I guess what the Gemara is asking is, when the daughters are getting their sustenance, is it coming via the son's ownership of this? No, is it officially, biblically, the sons inherit? The rabbis instituted that the daughters are getting it. It's like the superimposed allocating the funds for the daughters. So do we say that the rabbis made it that the sons have nothing here and it's all the daughters? Or do we say that no, it's superimposed on top? It's really the basic level is that it belongs to the sons. What's the difference? Is that if it improves, then and it gets worth more, then who gets that money directly? Is it automatically the sons, or is it something that, well, was never the sons, so it went to the daughter's sustenance? That's what it seems to be asking. Well, Tashima, so come and listen. Damar Abasi, Amar Rabbi Yechanan. Abasi says, name of Rabbi Yechanan, Yisaimim shekadmu umachru b'nechasim mu'atim. What happens if, because of this rabbinic institution of where the daughters are supposed to get, there's sustenance. If it's a small estate, let's say nevertheless the sons came and they took some of the estate and they sold it. Well, masha machru machru, it's considered a good sale, which means that at a basic level of inheritance, the sons got it, and they were able to make that transfer to do that transaction. Which would mean that if it does increase in value, that's going to the sons, because we see that the sons have that ownership of it, and you see that from the fact that they could sell it. They're not they can, but if they did, it's sold. Right? Not that they may, they can.
So the daughters can't live off the estate anymore if they sell it.
Right. It would mess it up. Yosef Rabbi Yirmiyah. Rabbi Yirmiyah was sitting in front of Rabbi Bo and he asked him the following question. The father has some other expenses here other than just his inheritors, besides for his sons and daughters. He also has an electric bill. He also has his widow that's supposed to be living off the estate until she gets married. We don't know when she's going to get married, but do we calculate that expense before we calculate, is this a large estate or a small estate? Because that's going to make a big difference here. Or do we take that into account later? In our initial estimation of how much is this estate, do we take in that do we say that the widow lives off the son's inheritance, which would be after the daughters get their, right? At the end, after the daughters get what they're supposed to get for their sustenance, and the sons get their inheritance, comes along the widow and lives off the son's inheritance, because she lives off the estate, which is going to the son. Or do we say that no, let's calculate this all together before we start, that there's going to be daughters that need their sustenance and the widow that's going to need her sustenance, and then let's see if there's anything left for the sons. The difference is who's going to be managing the property. So, do we say, well, she's supposed to get sustenance? You have to take that into the initial calculation of evaluating the size of the estate. Or should we view it differently? Should we view that since she's able to get married at any time and she's just going to disappear from this estate? Because once she gets married, she doesn't get anything from the estate. So, hashtanami lesla, we shouldn't take her into account initially. We'll just put her in later on, like this afterthought. When as long as she's not married, she'll live off the son's inheritance, but not that it's going to change the value of the whole estate. So the Gemara says like this: Imtim Telaimar. If you want to say, Kim di mitzvah lesla, since if she gets married, oh wow.
Hello.
Oh, it's the middle of the day. I was wondering, like, where? Yeah.
Yeah, we're here on Mount Carmel.
Oh wow.
I'll show you.
Mishana Lelio.
Yeah, let me turn this around here. Hold on, let me get possible to turn me around. I don't know yet. I'm not sure. Look at that.
Amazing.
See that?
Beautiful.
Don't fall off the mountain.
What's this?
Be careful. Don't fall off the mountain.
And this is my friend Gene. We're here together. Here we go.
Hi, Rabbi. How are you?
Okay, so
Good
We've
afternoon.
actually, I think, is this from your shul?
yeah, they're
Yeah.
having a class going on right
Yeah,
now.
we've met before. Nice to see you
Yeah.
again.
Very nice. Yeah. Same here.
Okay,
Very
So-
nice.
I'll be catching up on the Zoom on the YouTube channel, but meantime, it's the middle of the day here, so I just
Yeah.
wanted to say hi.
Nice to see you, Mike.
Hydrate.
Okay, cold too. Okay, have a good Shabbos.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. So,
Mount Carmel, is that Mount Carmel? Like another name?
is it? Is Mount Carmel Mount Hermon? Is it the same thing? I didn't know that. Okay. So we're asking about how do we evaluate the estate, knowing that there's going to be a widow that's going to need sustenance from it. Do we take her into the initial evaluation, and that's going to decide if it's like a large estate or a small estate, or do we take that into account later because she's not a definite expense because she might get married? Now, if you say that we view it like that, since she's not a definite expense because she might get married, and then we can't take that into initial the evaluation of the estate, is it a large or small? So then if we do that, then let's look at something else. There's another expense that the husband has, that this fellow that's passing away. He has another expense. There's other expenses that when he got married, his wife came into the marriage with a daughter. And he wrote in the ksuba that he's going to support her for 5 years. So that's another expense. Do we take that into account right away? And there goes this large estate. When you cut off this, you cut off that, you cut off the next thing. The daughters take everything because they need their sustenance, and the sons will be left with nothing. So do we take now if we don't, the Gemara is saying like this, if we don't take the wife into account because she might get married, what about the daughter, her daughter specifically? Miyamrina, and do we say, even the chiminsava nami yisla umamaita? This, she could be different because we said the husband wrote in the ksuba that he's going to support the daughter for 5 years. Now it doesn't matter if she gets married. He has to support her for 5 years, even if she's married. That's the kailo stipend. He didn't say, I'll support her for 5 years unless she gets married. He supports her for 5 years. So this would be different than the widow. This would have to be taken into account initially. Why did we cut out the widow from this evaluation? Because she might get married, and she won't be. It's going to be irrelevant. So we can't make all our calculations based on something that's about to disappear. So, but for the daughter, it's not disappearing because the daughter has to get the money for 5 years, whether she gets married or not. Or maybe we should say something else. Given the lamesa, less maybe she'll die. It's a strange thing to put into the calculation, but maybe she'll die, and then it won't. Why should I assume that this daughter is going to die and not the other daughters? I don't know. It's a funny thing. No, but we're saying there's not enough to support the daughters, and we consider this a small estate, and we just use that money to support the daughters. We don't give it to the son. Now we're saying, but what about this? There's this other daughter that's like this half sister, that's only from the wife, not from the father. And the father wrote in the ksuba that he's going to support her. So the Gemara is suggesting that maybe that doesn't go into the calculation because maybe she's going to die. 1 second. What about all the other daughters? Maybe they shouldn't go into the calculation. But the whole thing is off. You're going to take that spot. And if you're going to say, if we say that no, we don't know her life expectancy, so therefore we can't take her into the calculation of is this a larger estate or a smaller estate? So what about what about if there's a debt here? do we say that we need to subtract what he owes? He has these creditors that are going to show up. Should we subtract that before we start? Miyamrina and Kivin the Chimayas Nami
Is that a contingency? Like, or
if they don't show up, they don't collect, then there's a larger estate here. They die. That's what the Gemara says. Do we say Kivin the Chimayas Nami Isla Maya? Even if those creditors die, but they have inheritors that are still going to show up. So therefore, we have to take that into account because that's like, oh, it looks like a definite bill. And it's definitely going to subtract. Or maybe since it hasn't been collected, and we don't know when they're going to come and collect, so we shouldn't take it into account. You're not going to pay it early; you pay it when it's demanded. There is in the Gemara, some of the sages pose this question in the opposite order. They started at the end. They started like this: do we say that we have to subtract the creditor, the debt before we start this evaluation? And if we're going to say that we do subtract it, so then and what about the wife, the daughter of the wife? Should we subtract that? Because over there, by the Bal Chayv, maybe we subtract it because even if he dies, but his inheritors are still going to collect. But by Basishta, if she dies, then no one's coming to collect.
Famous versions says that it's the daughter from the previous.
Yeah, over here I know it's the daughter from the previous marriage. No, that's a different. That's coming up soon. That's on a piece coming up. Yeah. Okay.
What difference does it make the order in which these three items are discussed?
Is
there a priority in which gets paid first?
No, there may be, but that's not what the Gemara is suggesting. The Gemara is suggesting how to view the imtim to laimar. Like which one would be more logical for this to? It's just in the analysis of it. It's not in the. We started off. The first way was.
Yeah, the first way is the wife, then the daughter, stepdaughter, and then the debt, the IOU.
Right.
Now he's saying reverse it, and I'm asking what's.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the difference is. I know in the rules of halacha, how the halachas are taken from the Gemara, some commentaries say that if there's an imtim to laimar, that if we say this, then what about that? The Gemara is actually concluding that we're going to say this. That's considered like the halacha. Any imtim to laimar is, it's like a flow chart, right? Go this way. So once the Gemara takes that step, that means that the Gemara is actually accepting that. So, and then Al-Manusai, what about the widow, because she might even get married. And that's another reason why we should not take it into account, right? Okay, now the Gemara continues. It says, Al-Manusai ubas, ezimem kedemas. Let's say there's not enough funds for simply not enough. The only one of these people is going to get their money, their sustenance. Is it going to be the wife or is it going to be the daughter? Now, over here when it says bas, here's where Yonatan was telling me that who are the commentaries? Rabbeinu Gershon and Rabbeinu Gershon Maragayla, that's his name. He suggests that the Gemara's question here is that we're talking about his, when it says bas, it means bas ishtay, right? Who says differently?
Rashba.
Oh yeah? They say that it's talking about just a regular daughter.
The Rambam.
The Rashbam or the Rambam? The Rambam. I didn't notice the Rashbam saying. The Rashbam just leaves it vague. No, actually, Shteyem Tayvais Mezainis B'Tanai Ksuba. Looks like the Rashbam would be saying the same thing. Maybe not. Maybe not. Okay. Question over here is, who has priority to the money? Is it the widow or is it the daughter? Now, the daughter may be his wife's daughter, which was written in the Ksuba, that he's going to support her, or is it his own daughter? That's two ways of learning this Gemara. Ezimem Kedemus, which one comes first? Amrlei. So this was a question that was posed by Rabbi Yirmiyah to Rabbi Vo. He says, Rabbi Vo says, Zilhid Nevasalamachar. Go away now and come back tomorrow. I guess he wants to think about it. Kiyasa, when he came, Amalei, Psheit mi aschado, there's one thing I can answer for you. Says, Damar Rababa Marabasi. Baba says in the name of Ravasi, Asu almana eitzel abbas, kibas eitzel achim benachasim muatim. We do a comparison here. We do the widow and the daughter are going to be comparable to the sisters together with the brothers. What happens when there's sisters and brothers that are left, that are remaining, the heirs? So what happens? The sisters or the daughter, they get their sustenance, and then the sons have to go beg by the doors. Also, when it comes to a widow and there's a daughter, the widow gets her sustenance. And the daughter is going to have to go and collect by the doorways, by the houses, where she's going to have to beg, which means that the priority here is going to go to the widow. Yeah. Which is does show on some respect for the elder. You know, she's the widow, and as opposed to the children over here, they're going to go beg. The widow's going to get more going to be sustained more respectfully.
It's not necessarily an inheritance.
It's not a full inheritance. They don't have control over it. They just get money for food.
Well, assume it's her daughter, right? That she got from another previous marriage.
Right.
So her husband's died, so she's now the responsible adult.
Right.
So I'm saying there's a logic to making her have the priority.
Right. Or we could have said the other way. She's an adult. Let her figure out how to get a job. You know, to
or get married. Yeah.
Get married, and the child has to be sustained. We could have said this the other way.
But doesn't she have a responsibility to sustain the child now?
After a certain age, I think, I forget if it's 6, but I think it's considered, it's not a monetary responsibility, but it's a ethical responsibility, which can't be enforced.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Adman Aimer. Did we do this? Yeah. Adman Aimer. This is the another quote from the Mishnah. Adman said, "B'shvil shani zacher of sadati, because I'm a male, I'm losing out." He's talking about the daughters are going to get their sustenance, and he's not going to get anything. So it's just because I'm a male, I lose out. So my comment, you see, what the Gemara is asking here is, it sounds like that really the sons should have some priority. It says, because I have that priority, now I'm losing out. What's going on? I should have some priority. Because I have some priority in some other area. So what is that other area where the son has priority? So, Amar Abaya Achi Kamar. Abaya says, the pshat is like this. Since I'm a male, and I'm supposed to be studying Torah, or I'm able to study Torah, I'm eligible to study Torah. If Sadati, now I lose out on the inheritance.
Right.
Amalei Rava. Rava says, what are you talking about? The logic that that admin is using is that, you see, I should be inheriting. And what's the logic? According to Abaya, because I'm able to study Torah. What are you saying? You're saying that someone that studies Torah, the two brothers, one studies Torah, one doesn't. So you're going to say that the inheritance should go to the one that studies Torah, and the other one shouldn't get anything? Is that how it works with money? That you give it to the one that's in Kailo? And that's not how it works. It has to be divided equally. Right, but according to Abai, it gives him priority. Rebbe says it doesn't give him priority, not with inheritance. Maybe getting an aliyah, but not with inheritance, right? So, what's that expression? That and a dime will get him a cup of coffee.
Oh,
right?
that's so.
So Elam Rava, rather Rava says. Elam Meyata. So Elam Rava, Rava says Hachikama. What he means to say, what Admin was saying is, B'shvil shani zachav raya niliris b'nechasim rubim if sadati b'nechasim matim. Saying like this is interesting. He's saying that if there would have been a large estate here, then I would have inherited everything. So now that it's a small estate, so now I don't get anything. Just because, it's not saying just because. He's saying that really I should be getting everything. If there was a little more money here, I would have gotten the whole thing, and they would have been. I would have sustained them with off the estate, whatever. I would be in control of the estate. And now that there's a little less money, so now I don't get anything, and they get everything. What just happened? So that's why Rabbi Gamliel says, "Rayanias Dibri Admin." That they should both be sustained from the estate at that point. Is that what he means? I think so. Yeah, they'll sustain everyone together. What does it say? The Allah
Yes, page 4.
yeah, it's going to be on the Mishnah. I'll probably quote it. If the estate is not large, the court first separates funds to provide for the daughters, and then gives the remainder to the sons. The first priority is to provide for the daughters, even if the sons must resort to begging. This is in accordance with the opinion of the unattributed Mishnah, and contrary to the opinion of Admon. Now, what would have Admon himself said? I think that they would have to be sustained together. So even though Rabbi Gamliel says halacha like Admon, but in the halacha they're quoting there, it's not. Okay. The next Mishnah goes like this. Iniach banim ubanis v'tumtum. The new topic. If you leave sons and daughters, we just said that if there's if the estate is a small estate, then, or if it's a large estate, right? The daughters are going to get, if it's a large estate, the daughters are going to get their sustenance, and the sons will get their inheritance, and all is good. But let's say there's a tumtum there. Tumtum is someone that we don't know if he's male or female. He's in a doubt. His gender is unknown, not undisclosed, unknown.
Go by rational.
Yeah, but there's machlekes which way that works. So if there's a large inheritance, which means that the sons are actually going to inherit they're going to be able to control this estate. Then Hazacharim Deichem, I say it's on the Kavis. Then the male sons, they say, you're not one of us. Go over to the girl side, get your breakfast, lunch, and dinner over there, but you're not going to be controlling the estate. What happens when they get to the girl side? On the Kavis, I'm sorry, definitely it's on the Kavis. Okay. Nechasim Muatim, if there's machlekes over here, what happens when they get to the girl side? If the girls can then say, go to the boys. We don't have to share our lunch with you. It's not enough for it. We want to have a larger portion. Go over there. You're not one of us. Or there's the other opinion in the Rishonim that say no, you can't do that. You have to recognize that they're going to have the lower hand over here. They're not going to have the upper hand because it's undetermined, but if they're male or female. So they'll get whatever's less, but they're not going to get nothing. Some Rishonim say they get nothing because they keep getting pushed back and forth, and the other Rishonim say, what does the Rashbam say? Ikalaman Amar. They're those that say, it's Machlekes Abaye and Rabba. That's what it is. The Gemara is going to discuss it. Okay. Yeah, if there's only a small inheritance, small estate, then the daughters are the one that get have the upper hand over there, because they're going to get all their sustenance. The sons don't get anything; they're going to have to beg. So the females, the girls, tell the tumtum, they say, "Go to the boys, go beg. You're not one of us." So Aimer, someone says, if my wife gives birth to a male child, he should take a mana, 100 coins. Now, there's complications with how a person's allowed to give money to a fetus that wasn't born yet. It's not so simple. Here, whatever the case is, we're talking about someone on his deathbed.
By the way, this is also
In American law, that what?
child in gestation doesn't count.
Oh, really? So, is that if there was a will or if there's no will?
That's if they're, so it's a little complicated because you don't want to, but just say no will.
If there's no will,
But even if there is a will, at least the court of law says that with regard to unborn children. If you, for example, a will say it gives my children as a class,
right?
or
Does that include the fetus? Gestation does include.
So it depends. Get back to you.
There's a discussion in Florida law how this works. If someone says I'm leaving it to my children, if he's including a child in gestation. So if he says I'm giving a mana to if it's a male child, so then Yaldazach Yitel mana, that's what he gets. If he says Nekeva Masayim, he says if it's a female child, then she should get 200. Yalda Nekeva, if she gives birth to a Nekeva, to a female, to a girl, and they tell us Masayim, she gets 200. Gemara is going to ask why this was used as an example, that for the son he's giving 100 and for the girl he's giving 200. Could be. See in the Gemara there's Im Zachar Manem Nekeva Masayim, Yalda Zachar Nekeva, Zachar Neitel Manem, Nekeva Neitelis Masayim. If he says, there's two ways of reading this. If he says if it's a male and it should be 100, if it's a female it should be 200, and she has a male and a female, so the male gets 100, the female gets 200. The Rashbam rejects this pshat. Rashbam says, and she has a male or a female, not twins. He's not. The Rashbam says we're not talking about twins based on the Gemara later. Can't be talking about twins. Yolda Tumtum. Here's the question: let's say the child was unknown. It's a male or female. Ain't a nightel, can't get anything. This opinion is the opinion of Rabbi Gamliel, I think, the name that's attributed. Yeah. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, one of them, that says that a tumtum is actually considered a beria b'fnei atzma. There's like 3 genders. There's male, female, and tumtum.
Whoa.
And because he said male or female, he didn't say the other, this beria b'fnei atzma, this other gender.
Whoa.
So, 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 so he doesn't get anything. Otherwise, if you don't accept that, then, which it's different than the beginning of the Mishnah. The beginning of the Mishnah will look like, well, yeah, you push back and forth. You push there, you push to there, or whatever. But if it's according to this opinion, it's totally not included. It's totally something else. Okay. Imamar kol ma sheteled ish yital. Whatever my wife has, that child should take 100 or whatever. Harezi yital, then that's good. The main shem yerush alahu. Let's say there's no other children except for this one tumtum. So then yerush asakal, he inherits. Why? Because it says if he doesn't have a son, then you have to examine to see if there's daughters. Daughters, then the daughters inherit. Okay. So that it doesn't go to the son; it goes to the daughters. It also means that it goes to a tumtum. There's no one else to inherit.
So this is a Shechiv Meirah who's saying this?
Yeah.
So he's saying if after I die something happens, then certain gift will go to my wife, or if somebody.
I think he's just saying that I want my son to get the $100 that I have in the safe. He said he's dying, and he's giving this gift, matna shchiv meirah.
Okay.
And it was bringing this out because we wanted to bring it. It's a discussion here about the tumtum. You know what happens if it's a tumtum?
Do you, or does anybody there happen to know how long a tumtum stays with this extra piece of skin? I was under the impression that it had to be removed immediately.
16 months.
How long?
Yitzi says 16 months. No, it's not. It's not. It's not something that was set like when they remove it. I think it could tear at a certain time, and then we find out what he is or she is. Yeah.
I guess I don't know much about anatomy.
Right. I don't know I don't know if the thing is, I don't know if they had the ability to do the surgeries that we would do today if this happened. You know. Okay. Huh? No, it must be that everything is all like what is that?
Family share.
Family share. Yes. Okay. The Gemara says, "Daichan I say v'shakal kabas." From the beginning of the Mishnah, it says, "Daichan I say etzel nekevus." Says if there's a large inheritance, the male sons push the tumtum over to the nekevus. Aktani seifa, but in the end it says yalda tumtum in a naito. That when the person says that if it's a son, then it's gonna get 100. If it's a daughter, it's gonna get 200. And we say it doesn't get anything. So what's going on over here? Amar Abaya says, when the Mishnah says that the sons push to the daughters, that means that the daughters are gonna push back and they're gonna say, we're not giving you either. So it's exactly the same. Rava says no. That it's a large estate, the sons don't want this tumtum to inherit with them, So they push to the daughters, and the daughters are going to give the tumtum the sustenance. So the seifa, what about in the seifa where the guy doesn't get anything? That's Aslan Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. That follows the view of Reb Shimon ben Gamliel that he said the Tanan, it's supposed to be Yolda tumtum androgenous Reb Shimon ben Gamliel leimer en kedusha chala alayim. This is talking about Bechor, right? No, it's talking about over here. He says that the child, if it's, he says that if it's talking about an animal gives birth, is giving birth, and he says that if it's a male, it should be an oila. Okay, if it's a female, it should be a shlamim. So that's an oila would be a male, a female, shlamim would be a female, and then it gave birth to two males. It says, well, one is an oila, and the second one you sell it and to someone that needs to bring an oila, and you can use the money. Let's say it was two females. So then one of them is brought as the shlamim, and the second one you sell it for someone that needed the shlamim, and you could use the money. Let's say it gave birth to a tumtum and androgynous. So Reb Shimon ben Gamliel says it's nothing. The father only said what the if it's a male or a female. He didn't say if it's going to be anything else. So therefore, it does not count it. He says, "Ein kedusha chala alayim." There's nothing here. Because why? Because it's a beria b'fnei atzma. It's its own independent category. It doesn't have the holiness of the male. It doesn't have the holiness of the female, which the father pronounced.
What about when they find out? Would it be like retroactive?
Yeah. The Gemara has a question. Tumtum yerish keben v'nisin kabas. We have a brisa that says that a tumtum inherits like a son and gets sustained like a daughter. According to Rava, that says yerish keben b'nechasim muatim. What does it mean? Inherits like a son. That means he doesn't get anything. He inherits like a son when it's a small estate. He gets pushed to the daughters. That's what type of inheritance he gets. V'nisin kabas. But he gets the sustenance like a daughter, when there's a larger estate. He gets pushed to the daughters and he actually eats from the sustenance, which the daughters get. Ella Abaya, my nisan kabas, but according to Abaya, we're on top of Kufr Malach, what does it mean that he gets sustained like the daughter? He doesn't get sustained like the daughter. The Gemara says, and according to you, what does it mean he inherits like a son? He should inherit, but he doesn't. That same thing. So he should be sustained, but he actually doesn't get. Okay, so it's a way we wiggled out of that. If someone says if someone says if my wife gives birth to a male, he should get 100. If he gives birth to a female, 200. The Basra Daf, we're talking about a person that he'd rather have a daughter than a son. He's giving his daughter 200. We had this Gemara before. Rabbi Yechon says, if a person doesn't leave a son to inherit, Hashem has anger on him. It says that the inheritance passes over to the daughter. And when it says Passover, it's a type of anger. That day will be a day of anger. The Gemara says, when it comes to inheritance, Ben Adiflay. It's better for him to have a son. Linyan Harvacha, when it comes to, how do they translate Harvacha? Like provisions. When it comes to provisions, Bite Adifalay, he's more concerned about his daughter. He wants to make sure that she has more, because the son will be able to work and to get money. Shmuel Amar Hacha b'mavakeres askinan. Shmuel says we're talking over here about a woman that's giving birth her first child, the Rav Chizda. Like Rav Chizda said, Rav Chizda, the person has a daughter first. That's a good sign for the sons. Ikadamri demar bilacha. Some say that it's because she raises the brothers. Some say that it takes away the ayin hara. Now, what's the comment over there? Why does this? Is it because people aren't jealous? Is that why? Evil eye is the phenomenon where something looked upon with envy by others will come to harm. People tend to envy a person blessed with many sons, but much less so if his eldest is a girl. Mashra explains, refers to the discord that can plague the family in which the firstborn son eventually receives a double portion of the father's estate. Are envious of the eldest's larger share. Oh, takes away the inabisha from the younger brothers of the older brother. That's a good shot. That's the
Smith's
Marsha.
gonna give the oldest.
Yeah. So Basra says, okay. Amar Rav Chisda. Rav Chisda says, he says, my daughters are better than my sons. Okay, now what's the shot over here? Yeah. Rashbam says that his sons passed away. So he always wanted to have daughters because his daughters had a better survival rate. Maybe also the pshat that his sons-in-law were very chashuv. He had his son-in-law was Rava, his son-in-law was Rami Bar Chama, his son-in-law was Marukfa Bar Chama. They had the big good shidduchim. So he had like the greatest sages were his sons-in-laws. So that could be the pshat. I'm sure they say that.
Must have a lot of money.
Oh, that's Taisus pshat. I knew that from somewhere. Well, Taisus challenges that Rav Ches didn't have sons. He said, of course he had sons. He had Mar Yenuka, Mar Kashisha, Rav Chanan, Rav Mari, Rav Pinchas. There were Gedali Adar, Rava, Rav Mari, Bacham, Makbar. Okay, excellent. Iba Yasei Maman Rabbi Yehuda, maybe it's Rabbi Yehuda. Hi, Rabbi Yehuda. Which Rabbi Yehuda are you talking about? Elam Rabbi Yehuda the Bakal. Maybe it's Rabbi Yehuda of the word Bakal. The Tanya, it says in the Brayse of Hashem Berachas Avram Bakal. Hashem blessed Avram with everything. Is that this week's parsha? Rameir Reimer Shleiha Leibas. Rameir says that he didn't have. What was he blessed with everything? He didn't give him a daughter. That's like a big blessing. Rabbi Yehuda Reimer the opposite. Shahaisa Leibas Bakal Shema. He says no, he had a daughter, and you know what her name was? Bakal. Hashem Berachas Avram Bakal with the daughter by the name of Bakal. Ema the Shamat Rabbi Yehuda Brata Nami Leichasri Rachman al Avram. Okay, so according to Rabbi Yehuda, so Hashem gave Avram a daughter. Good. But who says that a daughter is better than a son? Over here we're saying that he wants to give his daughter 200. Where did you get that from? Allah Rabbi Yehuda, it's a different Rabbi Yehuda. Tanya, it's taught in a brayse. Mitzvah lasan asabanas v'kavachem labanim. That's better divrei meir. It's a mitzvah to support your sons and for sure your daughters and for sure your sons, because they study Torah. That's what Meir says. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, mitzvah lasan asabanim, mitzvah to support the sons. Kavachem labanas, and for sure it's a mitzvah to support the daughters like litzalan, so that they shouldn't be disgraced. Okay, let's leave it over here.
Oh.